Welcome to the Muslim blog. When a person is attempting to talk about nearly any topic, does the person have to talk about things that persons already know? But what I tell persons is whether or not a person can talk about a topic without having to talk about things that people claim they know, but obviously there's an issue, right? Like if a person says they know a topic, then we wouldn't have any issue then. Well, let's say there are issues. The issue is whether we talk to persons who understand the topic or persons who would cause us discomfort anyway. But if a person understands the topic, they have to talk to people, big surprise, who know the subject. When you talk to anyone, the issue is that there's something horribly wrong, at least in one area of a person's life or in all areas of a person's life. When everyone claims they know something, though, what then is the issue? It must be based on the topics we've been talking about. What I would assume is that people who understand the topic should talk to each other, but that's what happens on a general basis. Like if a person says persons who understand the topic are talking about it, though, the issue is whether rational people who understand each other have the right to talk about topics without having to cater to people who we know cause discomfort to everyone. If a person is in a particular topic, the issue is whether a rational person who understands a topic can talk to another rational person. In that sense, though, rationality is like that. If the individual says it has to do with persons who understand the topic, then it must be that rational people who understand the topic can talk to each other. In that sense, though, what is the point then, including someone who we know is going to cause discomfort to everyone? If we talk to a person who claims there is nothing wrong, the person must not be in any number of topics. If the person is in a particular topic, it has to do with whether we value their opinion over others. The issue is obvious, is whether someone sufficiently cares about an issue to talk about it in an honest fashion, though. When a person is talking about nearly any topic, the issue is that when we have someone of integrity, they talk about the topic in a way that makes sense to them. But the issue is whether or not someone is corrupted by the very context, though. If someone is talking to someone from a particular perspective, the issue is whether an honest person can say there's something horribly wrong in many different contexts, but it has to do with any number of topics. If the person is evaluating the subject, though, the person has a right to say, according to what they know and what they care about, that in a sector of someone's life, or in someone's life in toto, there could be something terribly wrong. If the person is evaluating according to any number of subjects, though, a person can say if a person is living their life according to any number of topics, then everything is hunky-dory. In that sense, it has to do with how much someone cares about any context. If the person sufficiently cares about any context, though, the person will say, I can't say that. I have to say what I see. When I look at a particular topic, a person can be living their life in terms of any number of topics. The issue, however, is whether someone can talk about a topic without having to talk to people who obviously confound the issue based on things we know, though. If a person is talking to anyone, the issue is whether or not someone can talk about a topic without having someone there who talks about things no one cares about, though. If an individual is in a particular topic, though, the issue must be obvious to everyone. If there is a topic that can be talked about, it must be based on the principles that we talked about, though. If a person feels overwhelmed by the topic, that's the whole point. If a person says, I can understand it from this narrow perspective, and another person says any number of topics, the issue is going to be identical, though. It's whether or not a person can talk about this topic without having to cater to topics that no one cares about or people have ceased to care about a long time ago. If an individual is saying when we look at any number of topics, it has to do with that subject. If an honest person is in any kind of situation, a person can be talking about a topic in such a way that other persons may feel uncomfortable with, but that has to do with whether the person has a clear objective, though. If a person is in a particular topic, a person may say, at this point this person can say this, but this is what the objective is. In that sense, though, when we look at any discourse, it's based on rational thought, though. Like, let's say, for example, when a person is doing anything, the person needs a rational framework for any number of topics. If a person is to talk about a topic, though, it has to do with whether there is a sufficient basis to talk about nearly any topic. Let's say, for example, a human being is trying to ameliorate any number of topics. A person can be attacked for the goal of amelioration by itself, though. Like, a person can be in a particular context, and a person can attack that person. But in that sense, when we look at it from a particular perspective, though, the issue is whether someone can say finally, the issue is something that we understand, and we can talk about the topic without having to worry about subjects. But if the person is talking about nearly any topic, the concerns are identical to everyone. If the person first starts the analysis with him or herself, that makes sense. When a person ceases to do that, it's because the person must be blessed in some way. But what I ask the person is something very basic, though. When an individual who is talking about the topic understands any number of subjects, why can't a person talk about it from a certain perspective without a perverse person challenging the person from perspectives that no one cares about, though? If the person is to talk about a topic, though, the issue is whether other human beings can confound the subject based on things we already know, though. When a person is in any kind of situation, the issue is whether the human being can finally and maturely talk about these topics without having to succumb to topics that no one cares about, though. If a person is to talk about a sincere topic, the issue is whether the human being can finally do so without some irritating person talking about things that no one cares about. If the person says, for example, when we look at a specific topic, it can be explained according to any number of principles, though. When we do look at a principle, to me, the only principle that matters is whether someone is capable of discussing the topic. When we look at the issue of capacity, though, capacity is a subject that everyone is well aware of, though. If the person talks about things from any number of perspectives, the issue is whether someone can finally just talk about the topic without having to deal with topics that no one cares about. If someone is in a particular situation, the issue is obvious. When a human being attempts to do anything for a clear and good purpose, it is whether or not there are any number of confounded individuals that are there. In that sense, though, when a person understands it from that perspective, it has to do with the topics we have been discussing, though. If a human being is in a particular context, it's whether a confounded individual can come to them and try to confound the issue. In that sense, though, when a person is talking about a particular topic, though, it has to do with whether or not we understand that the very goal of certain individuals is that. When a person is in a particular topic and someone understands the subject, there are people who talk about the topic for the sake of confounding the issue. Now, in that sense, what is new then? The person says, I know that. Well, that's the whole problem, though. If the person clearly understands that there are individuals who, for their very existence, though, confound the issue, then the topic has to be for people who know the subject. In that sense, what I try to tell persons about a topic is something very basic, though. If a person is attempting to talk about a topic, the issue is whether a person can talk about this subject without having to deal with topics that persons of rational and good character cease to care about. In that sense, though, if the person is talking about a different topic, though, the issue must be that there are individuals there for that very purpose. When an individual is talking about nearly any topic, there are persons that are there for that very reason, though, and a person has to understand that this is a supernatural fact about every single context, though. When someone is talking about it from a supernatural perspective, though, the issue is whether a person can explain the confounded individual according to those principles, though. If a person says the confounded individual has that particular goal, regardless of where he is, the person has to begin to see that uniform subject, though. Let's say, for example, someone is in a particular context. If an individual is placed in a context, a person can say there's going to be a confounded individual there. The issue is not then about the confounded individual anymore. The issue is whether we can defend ourselves from someone like that. The issue is defense, though. When a person is in a particular topic, if the individual does not even have its usual subject, exactly, but if the person talks about nearly any subject, the issue is that if a person can defend themselves from the topic, it's because they do not permit the confounded individual to do its confounded topics. In that sense, if the person understands that point of view, then we can talk about nearly any topic. We should not be talking to confounded individuals anyway, but in that sense, when we look at a particular topic, we can talk about that. In the next segment, we'll talk about it.